The Vikings. The very word evokes images of fierce warriors, longboats sailing through icy waters, and tales of epic battles and daring exploration. These Scandinavian seafarers left an indelible mark on history, shaping the destinies of Europe and beyond. For centuries, their exploits have captivated the imagination, inspiring countless stories, films, and works of art. The Viking Age, spanning roughly from the late 8th to the 11th centuries AD, was a period of remarkable transformation and expansion for these northern peoples. Driven by a complex mix of factors including population pressures, political ambition, and a thirst for wealth and new lands, Viking adventurers set sail from their Scandinavian homelands to conquer, trade, and explore. Their impact was felt far and wide, from the shores of North America to the Caspian Sea, leaving a lasting legacy on the world. This essay delves into the captivating world of the Vikings, exploring their origins, their society, their motivations, and their impact on the course of history. We will journey back in time to discover the truth behind the legends, separating fact from fiction and unveiling the complex and fascinating reality of these remarkable seafarers. To understand the Vikings, we must first understand their homeland, Scandinavia. This region, encompassing modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, is characterized by its dramatic landscapes, long coastlines, and abundance of fjords and islands. The harsh climate and rugged terrain of Scandinavia played a crucial role in shaping the Viking character and way of life. With limited arable land, the Vikings turned to the sea for sustenance and survival. Their mastery of shipbuilding and navigation allowed them to navigate the treacherous waters of the North Atlantic, opening up opportunities for fishing, trading, and raiding. The sea became their highway, connecting them to distant lands and cultures. Viking society was organized around small, independent communities led by chieftains who commanded respect and loyalty. Life was often harsh and unforgiving, with a constant struggle against the elements and rival clans. This environment fostered a culture that valued strength, courage, and self-reliance. The Vikings were not a unified nation, but rather a collection of diverse groups with shared cultural roots and a common language. Their society was deeply hierarchical, with a strong emphasis on honor, kinship, and loyalty to one's family and clan. These values, forged in the crucible of Scandinavia's challenging environment, would serve them well in their ventures overseas. The Viking Age, a period of unprecedented expansion and influence, is generally considered to have begun in 793 AD with the infamous raid on the Lindisfarne Monastery in Northumbria, England. This event marked the beginning of a new era, characterized by the Vikings' far-reaching expeditions and their impact on the history of Europe. This sudden and brutal attack on a sacred Christian site sent shockwaves throughout Europe, marking the arrival of a new and formidable force on the world stage. The fear and awe inspired by the Vikings would shape the political and cultural landscape of the continent for centuries to come. While the raid on Lindisfarne is often cited as the beginning of the Viking Age, it was not an isolated event. Over the following decades, the Vikings launched numerous raids across the British Isles, France, and other parts of Europe, establishing themselves as both feared raiders and skilled navigators. A confluence of factors contributed to the Vikings' outward expansion, including population pressures in Scandinavia, the relative wealth and weakness of neighboring kingdoms, and the development of new and improved shipbuilding techniques. These advancements allowed them to build longships that could traverse both open seas and inland rivers with ease. The Vikings were driven by a complex interplay of motivations. Their society was marked by a warrior ethos, but it also included farmers, traders, and explorers, each with their own reasons for venturing into the unknown. While some sought wealth and plunder through raiding, others were drawn by the promise of new lands, trading opportunities, or the chance to escape conflicts or hardships at home. The allure of adventure and the possibility of a better life drove many to set sail. Their longships, sleek and maneuverable vessels capable of sailing in shallow waters and navigating rivers, provided them with the means to reach distant shores and project their power far and wide. These ships were a technological marvel of their time, enabling the Vikings to explore and conquer new territories. The Viking Age was not simply a period of unrestrained violence and destruction. It was also a time of cultural exchange and economic growth, as the Vikings established trade routes and interacted with various peoples and cultures. The Vikings were also skilled traders and explorers, establishing extensive trade networks that spanned from the Middle East to North America. Their voyages brought them into contact with a wide array of goods, ideas, and technologies, enriching their own culture and those they encountered. They established settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and even North America, demonstrating their seafaring prowess and their ability to adapt to new and challenging environments. These settlements were not just temporary outposts, but thriving communities that left a lasting legacy on the regions they inhabited. Section 4. Hierarchy and Order. The structure of Viking society. Viking society was highly stratified, with clear distinctions between different social classes. This structure was essential for maintaining order and ensuring the smooth functioning of their communities. At the top of the hierarchy were the kings and jarls, who held significant power and influence. These leaders were often seen as the protectors and decision-makers of their people. Kings ruled over kingdoms, while jarls were powerful chieftains who controlled large swathes of land and commanded their own armies. Their authority was often backed by their wealth and military prowess. Below the kings and jarls were the carls, the freemen who made up the bulk of Viking society. These individuals were the backbone of the community, contributing to both the economy and the defense of their lands. Carls were independent farmers, landowners, or skilled craftsmen who enjoyed a degree of personal freedom and the right to bear arms. Their skills and labor were crucial for the sustenance and prosperity of Viking settlements. They formed the backbone of the Viking armies and played a vital role in the economy. Their contributions were highly valued, and they often participated in local assemblies known as things to discuss and decide on community matters. At the bottom of the social ladder were the thralls, or slaves. These individuals had the least amount of freedom and were often subjected to harsh conditions. Thralls were typically captured in raids or purchased through the slave trade and were considered the property of their owners. They were often used for the most menial and labor-intensive tasks. They performed menial labor and had few rights. Despite their low status, thralls were an integral part of the Viking economy, providing the labor necessary for various tasks. Social mobility was possible in Viking society, although it was often limited. A carl could rise through the ranks by accumulating wealth, achieving military glory, or demonstrating exceptional skill in a particular craft. A carl could rise through the ranks by accumulating wealth, achieving military glory, or demonstrating exceptional skill in a particular craft. This upward mobility, though rare, was a testament to the dynamic nature of Viking society. Conversely, a jarl or even a king could lose their status through defeat in battle, loss of wealth, or a challenge from a rival. This constant flux ensured that power and influence were always contested and never taken for granted. Section 5. The Art of War, Viking Warfare and Raiding Tactics. The Vikings were renowned for their military prowess and their mastery of both land and naval warfare. Their ability to seamlessly transition between fighting on land and at sea made them a formidable force in medieval Europe. They were fierce and skilled warriors, feared for their ferocity in battle and their ruthlessness in raiding. Their reputation as relentless fighters spread far and wide, instilling fear in the hearts of their enemies. Their success in warfare can be attributed to a combination of factors, including their advanced weaponry, effective tactics, and the element of surprise. The Vikings utilized a variety of weapons such as swords, axes and spears, each designed for maximum impact in combat. Viking longships, with their shallow drafts and maneuverability, allowed them to navigate rivers and launch surprise attacks on coastal settlements. These ships were not only fast, but also capable of carrying a large number of warriors, making them perfect for quick and devastating raids. They were also adept at land warfare, employing a combination of shock tactics, shield walls, and missile weapons to overwhelm their opponents. The shield wall, a defensive tactic where warriors stood shoulder to shoulder with their shields overlapping, was particularly effective in close combat. The Vikings were masters of the hit-and-run raid, striking quickly and decisively before their enemies could mount an effective defense. This tactic allowed them to cause maximum damage while minimizing their own casualties. They targeted monasteries, towns and villages, plundering wealth and taking captives to be sold as slaves. Monasteries were particularly lucrative targets due to their wealth and relatively low defenses. Their raids instilled fear and terror throughout Europe, contributing to their reputation as ferocious barbarians. The sight of Viking longships on the horizon was enough to send entire villages into a panic. However, the Vikings were not simply mindless berserkers. They were strategic and calculated in their approach to warfare. They were also skilled strategists and tacticians, capable of adapting their tactics to different opponents and environments. Whether fighting in dense forests, open fields, or along rugged coastlines, the Vikings could adjust their strategies to suit the terrain. They often used cunning and deception to gain an advantage, employing spies, ambushes, and psychological warfare to weaken their enemies' resolve. By spreading fear and misinformation, they could disrupt enemy plans and create opportunities for successful